So yes, green. Green, I melted over. I love all of these green cards. Every single one. Every single one I fucking love. I want to play green. I hope I get the opportunity to play green. Please. Green looks so good. But now we're on to multicolored. So, first one is a cool, the Unrepentant. Okay. So it's 4 mana, double black, double red. 5/5 flying trample. Sacrifice 3 of the creatures. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery and only once each turn. That's terrifying? What? So, hear me out here. This turn 4. Turn 5, sack 3 1/1 mercenaries who just happen to be lingering around. Play Terror of the Peaks. You still have 5 mana. Play Dude. Opponent dies. Like, I mean, dies to the... No, it doesn't even die to the 2 mana removal because it's a rogue, which means it's an outlaw. Holy shit, this thing's scary. It's flying trample as well. I think this is terrifying, right? Holy shit, this is powerful. I don't... this is probably the best creature we've seen. I mean, yeah, it depends how easy it is to get. I mean, if this comes down turn 4, your opponent, if they can't kill it, it's probably conceding. Right? If you've got dudes out and you can just play anything from your hand, this is fucking horrifying. Jesus. And not to like, the ability is horrifying. Not to mention, it's stapled to a 5/5 flying trampler. In limited, the 5/5 flying trampler is terrifying enough. Oh my god. Well, this is a start to the multicolored cards. What if you have Gisa? You just turn 4 this, turn 4 play it for free, start committing some crime and get some zombies going? Jesus. I mean, maybe you have a handful of nothing and this is completely worthless, but it's still a 5/5 flying trampler that starts creaming your opponent's face in. Jesus. Yeah, this guy's strong. And big and scary. This is a good card. This is, you know, game winning. Annie Flash the Veteran. Ooh. White, green, red. So you're 6 mana. You have Flash. Okay. When Annie Flash the Veteran enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return target permanent card with mana 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this is probably all happening on the end of your opponent's turn. So a 4/5 comes in. You get a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever she becomes tapped, which is going to be on your turn, because you're going to attack with her probably, you exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. I mean, for a top end, you can... You're probably getting the effect that you're probably getting all of the effects because you're playing her at instant speed. She's a rogue, so she can't be hit by the 2 mana thing. This is probably good. It's not great. It's not like outstandingly game winning, I don't think. Because it's a 4/5 with no effects apart from Flash, so it's not scary. It's not like it's not 5/5 flying trample. For 4. This is 6 mana for a 4/5 with flash that brings back something that costs 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, which, I mean, sure, there's some decent things there, but nothing, you know, mind-breaking. Did we see anything in green, red? I mean, some mana dorks in green. White, I guess, like the Ox that I kept saying I like because you can gain life and scry with it. And in red, there's probably some decent things, but, like, nothing that really I was looking at and was like, oh, how can this possibly be 3 mana? And when she becomes tapped, you exile top 2 cards to the library and you can play them this turn, which probably happens on your turn because you probably just attack with her. But again, she's only a 4/5 for 6. But your opponent probably just blocks. So they probably only get 1 turn out of that. Compared to this? Not as impressive, I don't think. Maybe I just like this because it's huge and flying and gonna eat you. But yeah, she doesn't strike me as super impressive. She's good, don't get me wrong, she's good. If I had her, I'd play her. But she's not like you win the game on the spot by paying 6 for her. Sort of good. And if you're paying 6 is a lot. And Annie joins up. Okay, so this is her special effect thing. So the colours she's in and 1, so 4 mana in total. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. It's removal. We like this. If a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, the ability triggers an additional time. Now, if you have this and this, now we're talking. Because this can remove this guy. So this guy comes down the turn over, blows him up, fuck you, haha. And then, when you get to 6, you play this, you get 2 value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And on your turn, because you play them at the end of your opponent's turn because she has flash, when she swings, you exile the top 4 cards and can play any of them. This is, I think for 4 mana, deal 5 to a creature or planeswalker, this is... If you're in these colours already and you think you can make these colours work, which you probably can, because in Limited you can probably do 3 colours reasonably well, I think this card is good. If you have Annie as well as Annie joins up, it's great. But, you know, if you don't, this is still probably good. I just need to see what other legendary creatures there are. Because there were legendary creatures in white, red, and green that were probably really good. I'm not registering them, because I didn't register what was legendary and what wasn't. Assimilation... Oh my god, let's sit up for this one. 3 mana for an artifact equipment. Already not looking great, because I don't tend to like equipments too much. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature until it leaves the battlefield. Okay, it's removal. Actually, I'm starting to like this one. Whenever it becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to it, that creature becomes a copy of the card exiled. Ooh, okay, I'm going to shut my mouth. This is a good card. We like this one. Exile your opponent's biggest thing. Turn your tokens into copies of it. Yeah, fuck me. That's what I like. I'm all about that. This is going to screw me over because I'm going to be playing big, dumb, green shit. My opponent's going to play this and it's going to make me fucking sad. But, yes, this card is good. It's a 3 mana exile your opponent's biggest thing. And then you don't worry about the equip cost until later when you just start making things into copies of whatever you were exiled. This is just removal. Just think about it as removal with upside. That's all you need to think about. This is just removal with upside. So we like this, we take this. This is very cool. At knife point, okay, 3 mana. For as long as it's your turn, outlaws you control have first strike. Excuse me? And if you commit a crime, you create a mercenary every time. Oh, only once each turn. Ugh. Yes. First strike is one of the best attacking keywords. And giving everything... If you're playing this, you're probably playing a mostly mercenary deck. Or all mercenaries. Or outlaws, whatever. Not all mercenaries. All outlaws. Everything you control having first strike is so insane, your opponent is just going to lose. This card is incredible. Everything you control has first strike, probably. God, that's good. Yeah, this card's really good. Badlands Revival. 5 mana, return 1 target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, that's about average for a reanimation effect. It's reanimation with upside, sure. I'd say, you know, sure, fine. Like, this is about average for a thing. If you're running this card, you're probably running it with an idea, with a creature in mind. Sure. Baron Bertram Greywater. Sure. A 4 mana 3/4. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 black vampire rogue creature token with lifelink. Only once each turn. You can sacrifice a creature or artifact to draw a card. This is probably really good. There's probably some token white-black bullshit that pumps tokens out. This guy multiplies them by making more, and then you just start humping them for drawing cards. This is probably really good. Like, I can't imagine without having all the cards out in front of me what the deck like specifically runs, but this is probably good. It's just spew weenies, draw cards, spew more weenies. That's probably great. Bonnie Pal Clear Cutter. So you're 6 as well, but you are a 6/5 with reach. Okay. Like it. Again, it's got reach. I'm a big fan of the reach. Blue wasn't really selling me, but maybe this is really good. Green, blue. Right. When Bonnie Pal Clear Cutter enters the battlefield, create Boo, a legendary blue ox creature token with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then you put a land card from your hand or graveyard. Okay, this is good. This is 6 mana. Here's a giant thing with another giant thing, and every time you attack, which you're going to attack the turn you play this, I imagine, because you're going to have creatures to attack with, hopefully, you just draw a card and play a land. You're probably not going to play the lands in your hand. You're going to draw a card, play a land from your graveyard. This is good. This is really good. This is good. This is a very good... I'm loving everything green touches in this set. This is a really good card. Like a 6 mana 6/5 with reach that blocks everything in the air, and also comes with an extra giant thing. And whenever you... Yeah, this is good. Breaches the Blast Maker. Oh, it's another pirate. Ugh. Okay. 3 mana for a 3/3 with Menace. Sure. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may use 2 targets for the copies. When you lose the flip, Breaches the Blastmaster deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any time. Oh, so it's good either way. This is a lot of work. I will say, everything else is just kind of like you get stuff for doing... Like, this guy is just a big dude. Yeah, you have to sacrifice some creatures, but, I mean, he's in the colours for it, so you just... Yeah. And this, you just get value for playing her. This is value for playing it. This is value for playing it. This is value for playing it. This is value. Like, everything up until this guy, you just play it and or do something. Like, even this, you attack while it's on the field and you get stuff for it. This, you have to cast 2 spells in a turn and sacrifice an artifact to flip a coin. And then if you flip the coin, sometimes you get another copy of the spell. And sometimes you might... This is the thing. If you flip and you want to lose to deal damage, that'll be the time you win and the spell is shit. Hey, Eugene. And when you flip and win, like... Don't get me wrong. This card is probably good because there's probably a turn where you play your second spell, flip a coin, it goes the right way, and you just blow your opponent up or multicast some crazy spell, and it's all fantastic. But this is a lot of work for a 50-50. Both are good, to be fair. Both, like, the 50-50 is good. Both sides of it. But, like, yeah, cast 2 spells and sacrifice an artifact and then do the flip. It's just a lot. I mean, if I was in this color combo, I'd still play it because it's fucking hilarious. But I just think it's not quite as good as the previous 2 color cards. They've all just been gross. How are you doing today, Eugene, anyway? You having a good day so far? Bruiser Tal, Roving Rancher. 4 mana, 4/3. Oxen you control have double strike. Okay. When Bruiser Tal, Roving Rancher enters the battlefield or attacks, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land, create a 2/2 white ox creature which has double strike because this guy exists. Otherwise, you may cast it until the end of your next turn. This seems pretty good. Have we seen have we seen a bunch of oxen creatures that I don't know about? Like, I'm not going to go back and start looking through red and white for oxen creatures. But, I mean, this guy, when he enters the battlefield, you get the trigger immediately. So you exile the top card of your library and either make an ox or you can play it this turn. Preferably make an ox because he probably cost all your mana to play. And then the following turn, if they haven't killed it... Oh, wait, because otherwise you may cast it until the end of your next turn. Oh, it doesn't matter. Even if it costs 4 mana, you still get value out of him because you can play the card you exile, you either exile a land and you get an ox, or you can play the card until the end of your next turn. This guy's great. I like this guy. I thought, like, I've been drooling all over the green cards, but this guy's really nice as well. Yeah. Man, Oxen's having double strike. Like, just a field of 2/2s with double strike is just terrifying. And you've got pump spells in white, I think we saw. And in red. Oh, you could kill someone with this card real easy. Cactus Folk Sure Shot. It's a 4 mana 4/4 with reach and ward. We like the reach because remember there's a lot of flyers. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain trample and haste. Wow, this card is really good. Yeah. If you're playing red-green and you've got this card, just slide that baby right into your deck. 4 mana for a 4/4 with reach, so none of the flyers can get through anymore. Ward, so it's a pain to get rid of. And every single turn, if you play a big dude... yeah, he looks cool. But every turn, if you play... sorry. Every turn, if you play a big enough dude, they just have trample and haste and just go. This looks great. I'm a big fan. I love me big green smashers, and this just helps the big green smash harder. Oh, what is these names? Congregation Griff. Okay. 3 mana for a 1/4 flying lifelink. I mean, it's a flyer, so you're probably taking it, but... When Congregation Griff attacks while saddled, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of mounts you control. Okay, so this is like the leader. This is like the mounts deck thing. Okay. I like this, actually. Yeah, because I'm assuming you can... you can saddle this with other mounts, right? And then it would... so this would just grow? I think so. Yeah, I think this is a good card. I think this could be a very good card. Again, it would depend on how many mounts you have, but I think could carry with a lot of mounts. Yeah, that's what I think. White's thing is mounts. White has a lot of mounts. Green didn't have as many, but I think green had 3 or 4, so... Yeah, this could be very good. Doc... Oh my god. What is with these names? Doc Orlock, Grizzled Genius. Okay. Green and blue. So 2 mana for 2/3. Spells you cast from your graveyard or from exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards from your hand costs 2 less. Wow, this guy's really good. I don't know what cards you're casting from your graveyard with this, but all plotted cards carrying from exile, cast from exile for free, but you can plot them for 2 less. So that makes your like, if you get this guy down on turn 2, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think if you get this down on turn 2, and then on turn 3, you just plot like 2 cards, your opponent has to be scared. Because on turn 4, you can play both of those cards for free, still have 4 mana left, and those 2 cards could have been, 3 mana each. They could have been a 4 mana and like a 2 mana. Yeah, it's just going to snowball hard. Green already ramps. Like, yeah, I think this could be very good. Oh my god. So this is Ariette the Beguiler? I think it's Ariette. I don't know how you say that name. I'm going to say it's Ariette. 4 mana for a 4/4 with lifelink. Big fan. Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the aura's mana value, gain control of that permanent for as long as that aura is attached to it. We haven't... There's been a few... Okay. There's a few auras in this set, but not enough, and they aren't expensive enough for this to be particularly good. I think this is, the majority of the time, a 4 mana 4/4 with lifelink. Which... maybe in standard or in like commander or something, there's something crazy this woman does, but I think the majority of the time in limited, this is a 4 mana 4/4 with lifelink, which is fine, but it's not, Yes, but you are correct, but I'm thinking about it from a limited standpoint. And in limited, we've only got the cards in this set to play with. And I just don't think there's enough in this set to make this work. I think from a limited standpoint, this isn't very good. I think with the small card pool, I think this is 9 times out of 10 just a 4/4 with lifelink. Because all the white aura, I think almost all the white auras exile what you're putting them on, so she doesn't do anything with those. The black, I don't even remember there being a black aura. And the blue, again, I can't even remember there being a blue aura. And blue auras cap out with steal your opponent's shit anyway. So, like, then she just becomes redundant. I don't think this is particularly good in limited. It's cool, though. But I think in limited, she's just a 4/4 lifelinker. These names, for fuck's sake. Eartha Joe Frontier Mentor is a 4 mana 2/4, and when when it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 red mercenary. You create mercenary, sure. Whenever you activate an ability that targets a creature or player, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Okay. Yeah, no, I like this. Okay, so I've already been through a lot of the cards. Let's white, blue, and black. One sec, we'll go back. So this is, so here's like white. Does white have any auras? No, there aren't any in the whole set. How about blue? Yes, 1 here. There you go. But it's worthless. Sorry, this one is also bad. So, for 4 mana, you could use this aura to enchant another creature, and it would tap permanently and lose all abilities. So you would get to steal their creature as long as it cost less than 4, but it would be permanently tapped and couldn't do anything. So that's probably not the best aura. Well, this is the problem. This is what I was talking about. Yeah. So that's the thing. In a larger section of cards, because Magic has cards from years and years and years and years and years. Magic has existed forever. With a larger selection of cards, there's a lot more auras to choose from. So this aura part of her text can be good if she's played with other auras from other sets. But in this set, white, blue, and black doesn't have any auras. She literally does nothing. So that's why I say she's bad and limited, because there isn't any support for her in this set. She doesn't do anything in this set. Unless there's like 20 multicolor enchantments that I don't know about later on after this. But she is no good. She just doesn't do anything. In limited. This one, however, I do like. I do like Eartha Joe. So this... It was meant ironic. Okay. Yeah, I know. Yes. She's very bad. She's very bad in this set. I know you were making a joke because you take control of one dog shit card. I know, yes. She is very bad in this set. Like I said, I think the reason she exists and is those 3 colors is because Wizards want people to use her as a commander in the commander format. But in limited by herself, she's fucking useless. But yeah, Eartha Joe. So this one I like. This one is even though I don't actually like the red mercenary creature token summoning thing, she's just gonna double all triggers. All the mercenary triggers. So everything gives +1 actually gives +2. So I think Eartha Joe is actually good. If you're doing like a red-white triggery thing. Right. Yeah. Tap. So all the mercenary creatures... So again, you'll see it here. Create X 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens with tap the creature. So tapping means you can't... So to attack your opponent, you have to tap the creature. So this is essentially the creature can't attack or block, but it gives another target creature +1 attack until end of turn. But she doubles that, because when you activate an ability that targets a creature or player, and tapping the creature to do the targeting thing is activating an ability, you get to copy it and do it again on something else. Or on the same target, it doesn't matter. You may choose. So yeah, red and white wants to make a lot of these mercenary creatures, and then double up this. Well, sort of. Let's say you pay this for 3. So you get 3 red mercenary creature tokens, right? And then you play this one, and she comes with a red mercenary creature token. The turn after that, you tap 3 of the red mercenary creatures to target the 4th red mercenary creature, and that creature gets +6/+0 until end of turn. And you can attack with a 7/1. So yes, they are support, but they can also attack. You can do whatever you can do either. But yeah, red and white is tokens, which is good. I like red and white being the token spam. Okay, they can support themselves. Yeah, they can't. So if you tap them, they can't attack. But if there's a number of them, so if there's like two, you can tap one to make this one stronger, and this one can still attack, sort of thing. So Girad, Mirror of the Wilds, is a 3-mana 3/3 with haste. Already liking this guy. Non-token creatures you control have tap. Create a token that's a copy. Oh my god. Non-token creatures you control have tap. Create a token that's a copy of target token you control that entered the battlefield this turn. Right. Okay. So this guy creates extra tokens. So, yes, let's go back. So again, say you play this and you make 3 mercenary creatures. If this guy's out, he can tap himself because he's not a creature. He's not a token. He is a full-blooded card. So the things that come from this are tokens because they're called creature tokens. This is a non-token because it's a full card. So you can tap him to create an extra one of the mercenary tokens because they entered the battlefield this turn. So yeah, it looks like green, red, and white are just going to be vomiting tokens everywhere. This would also work. So this works on any token, not just creature tokens. It would work on, there's things like treasure tokens and other stuff. So this guy just makes tokens, makes more. So any token makes more. And you can make multiple copies if you have non-token creatures. Right. Just way too complicated, but I understand what he's doing. Oh my god. The Gitrog Ravenous Ride? This is a mount? Look at the size of this thing. Okay. So it's a 5-mana 6/5 with trample and haste. So much shit in this set has haste. I fucking love it. Whenever the Gitrog Ravenous Ride deals combat damage to a player, it's got trample, so it's probably going to do that. You may sacrifice a creature that saddled it this turn. So it's got saddled 1, so that's any creature with power more than 1. So that's fine. So it's anything. If you do, draw X cards, then put up to X land cards from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Okay. Honestly, you're probably just using this to draw. So, you're probably just playing this for 5, crewing it with whatever the biggest creature is that isn't this, and swinging. And if your opponent can't block all of the damage because of trample, you hit them, you sacrifice 5 mana to draw. Yes, but it's 5 mana to draw a lot, possibly. And also, it sticks around. This doesn't die. This is still a 6/5. It doesn't have to be saddled. That's the thing. So, you play this, it's a 6/5 with trample and haste. You can choose to saddle it by... So this saddle down here, saddle 1, means you can saddle it with any... You can tap a creature. Yeah, possibly, perchance. Yes. Well, that's the thing. It's a 5-mana 6/5. So I think you just play this, saddle it with whatever the biggest creature you have, because you've probably got other creatures out, because it's turn 5 at this point, at least. And then swing with it to try and deal some damage. And if you deal any damage, you sack whatever the creature is and just draw more cards. In Magic, having more cards is always better. So, I think this card is pretty damn good. I mean, it's the haste. It has trample and haste. The haste really does it because it means your opponent has to respond with it with an instant. If they have instant removal, then this dies. But we're in limited, so the chance they have that is going to be way less than normal. So the chance is you play this, you saddle it, you swing, it gets damage, you draw. Then on their turn, even if they kill it, you've already got damage, and you've already drawn. And maybe played some land cards as well, but... Yeah, it seems pretty good. Yeah, I think this is a good limited card. Certainly. Honest Rutstein? Is a 3-mana 3/2, and when he enters the battlefield, you return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and creatures cost 1 less. Yes. I want everything this man is offering. All of it. All of the time. Forever. I'd play this card if it was just 3-mana creature spells cost 1 less. I'd probably just play that. Also return a creature card from your graveyard to hand. So it's return. This is so good. Yep. Can resurrect this. And make it cheaper. Then it would be 4 mana for a 6/5 with trample and haste. Yep. We like this card. We like this card a lot. Yep. This is a good card. Yeah, a very cool card. Intimidation Campaign. 3 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life, and you draw a card. Is that worth 3? Oh, it's like it's one of these infinite value engines, right? These cards are either completely worthless or incredible, depending on how slow the format is. So you pay 3, you play this. Your opponent loses a life, so they go from 20 to 19. You gain a life, you go from 20 to 21, and you draw a card. And then you commit a crime, do something to them, destroy a creature they have or whatever. And this goes from the battlefield back to your hand. And then you play it again. Your opponent loses 1 life, they go down to 18, you gain 1 life, go to 22, and you draw another card. This is infinite value, but it's slow as fuck. So if you're up in a control matchup in a limited sense, you're probably going to win off this card. But if you're against some super aggro player who's just beating your fucking ass, this doesn't do enough. 1 life a turn is not enough if your opponent is hitting you for 6 by turn 4. If your opponent's just swinging for the fences with a bunch of creatures, on turn 3 this isn't good enough. So, yeah. I like this card. There was a card very much like it in an old set that was... I think it was the same colours. I think it was like a Demir card that had a very similar... It was you play it, they lose 1 life, you gain 1 life, draw a card. Maybe this is a reprint. I don't know. But, yeah. It's too slow in... It's usually too slow. Even in limited, it's too slow. Unless the limited format's really fucking slow. But I don't think this one is going to be. There's too many just big things. I think... No, because this is whenever you commit a crime. I think the Demir version was whenever you surveil. So I think this is slightly different, but only very slightly, because it's using a different mechanic to return itself to your hand. What the fuck? Okay. Gem Lightfoot Sky Explorer is a 4-mana 3/3 with flying and vigilance. So you're probably running this card because it has flying. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card. This is probably really good for the plot deck. Like, flying, like, it flies, it's got vigilance, so it can block as well, although you're probably not blocking with it. And if you're plotting all of your cards and not playing them from your hand, this is just draw an extra card every turn. So I imagine you're very happy to see this card, because white and blue both do a lot of plot. What does fly and vigilance do? So flying, creatures with flying can only be blocked by other creatures with flying, or creatures with a keyword called reach. So if I can have 15 creatures on the ground, but if I don't have flying or reach on any of them, this still hits me directly. Just flies over the top and hits me in the face. And vigilance means it doesn't. So as I said, when you attack, you tap your creature, and it can't block because tapped creatures can't block. So it can basically penetrate. Yeah. Well, unless it can be blocked by other flying creatures. And as I said, creatures with the keyword reach. And vigilance means it doesn't tap when it's attacking. So it can attack and block. Or if it has a special ability, like the ones that I said, tap to give something a +1/+0, it could attack and also use that ability. This doesn't have that ability. This is just a flying vigilance. So it attacks and doesn't tap. So it can attack and block in the same turn, or in the same rotation of a turn. But yeah, this is just at the end of your turn, draw a card if you're using plot. I'll go see if we can find where plot is. 1 second. Oh, there you go. There's a card with plot. So plot is this: you may pay an amount of mana, or the plot is different. Exile this card from your hand, cast it as a sorcery on a later turn without paying its mana cost. So, because this says at the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card. When you plot a card, it goes to exile. You don't cast it. So that doesn't trigger it. So you would still draw a card from this. Then when you play the plotted card, you're casting it from exile, not from your hand. So this still triggers. So if you're playing plot cards and plotting them before you play them, this always triggers. So I think this card belongs in the plot deck. But yeah, good card. Good card. You're probably just... It's a 3/3 flyer and vigilance. What's exile? It's just a place over here. Exile's a bit difficult because there's lots of things that do exile. So when you kill a creature in Magic, it goes to the graveyard. And there's lots of cards that can interact with the graveyard. So there's ways to exile cards, so they're gone forever. But like I said, with these plot cards, when you exile something, it's just removed from your hand, put to the side, and you can use it later. It's just essentially a plane of existence that you can't interact with. So it's not a graveyard, so any card that plays with the graveyard can't touch it. It's not your library, it's not the board, it's just a separate zone of existence where only cards that interact with exiled cards can do anything with it, and there's almost none of those cards in existence. Like, when you exile something, it's usually just completely separate. So, yeah. Yeah, I like this card in a plot deck. It's banned from Yu-Gi-Oh! I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh! So maybe. But, yeah, when you... It's weird because if you're exiling something of your opponent's, generally it's like a creature that's gone forever and you can't touch. But you also exile cards from your own deck with a lot of cards that just essentially put them to the side and you can use them again later, sort of thing. It's just, it's a section of the game that you can't touch generally. It's just separate. Jolene, Plundering Pugilist. Okay. A 3-mana 4/2. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures with power 4 or greater, create a treasure token. And you can sacrifice a treasure, and she deals 1 damage to any target. I think you like this card in red-green, mostly just because you want creatures with power 4 or greater, which she is. She has a cute dog in the background. That's a snake creature. I don't think that's a dog. But I will give you, it is, I like it, it's cool. But, yeah, I think I don't think she's great, but you in the green red, from what I can tell, you want creatures with power 4 or greater. She is, therefore you're probably playing her. Well, she probably is great, actually. Creating treasure tokens is probably fantastic, but I don't think you ever care that much about her tap 2, sacrifice a treasure to do 1 damage. I don't think you give a shit about that. She gets extra dog points. Alright, so we'll give her 2 extra dog points. Campbell Profiteering Mayor. These names need to fucking... Okay. 3 mana for a 2/4. Good stats. Whenever one or more token... Oh, it's another token one. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your opponent's control, for each of them, create a tapped token that's a copy. It only triggers once each turn. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so this is if your opponent is trying to make tokens, gimme. And then drain them at the same time. So as long as you've got this on the field, if your opponent is also making tokens, you get all of those tokens as well. So, yeah, if you're going up against someone... Was a 4/2. Yes. She's a 4/2 for 3 mana, which is why I said we like her. Because the top part, whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures with power 4 or greater, she has power 4 or greater. Power is the first number. The first number is power, the second number is toughness. So, she triggers herself, which we like. Anything that triggers itself is good. Early turn 3 pressure. Yeah. A 4/2's, you know, fine. The 2 toughness means she probably trades with, well, probably die. Because remember, in Magic, you choose what blocks. So, with her, I would say, I'm attacking you with Jolene. And my opponent could take 4 or block with a creature. And if he's got a 1 mana, 2/1 or something, he can just put it under Jolene and she still dies. So, I mean, she does do good damage, but by turn 3 or by turn 4, which is when this is going to be attacking because of summoning sickness, they probably have something with 2 power. But you still get the treasure out of it, which is nice. But yeah, this guy is a gimme for tokens. If your opponent does anything token related, you get some too. And when you get some more because they get drained. So this is probably really good in the token deck because you just get free tokens if your opponent ever tries to do tokens. Kellen joins up. Okay. So I guess the next card's probably going to be Kellen. But for 3 mana, when Kellen joins up, enters the battlefield, you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. Right? So you can cast it later. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I don't think these cards are very good. This one specifically. I liked the other one because I thought the other one was the other one was removal. This isn't. A 6/6 that can be targeted by spells and abilities. Probably that's hexproof. You can give things hexproof. I'd have to go very far back. Though, so can't be the target of spells and abilities is the keyword in Magic, hexproof. If your creature has hexproof, it can't be the target of spells and abilities your opponents control. So you can still do stuff with it, but your opponent can't touch it. And there's a card in this set that is 1 mana, give something hexproof. So, yes, you can just have a 6/6 that has hexproof. It's only until end of turn, but you can have any number of things that have hexproof. Yeah, you can just give stuff hexproof in Magic. But yeah, I don't like Kellen joins up. Is Kellen any good? Here's Kellen the Kid. Here's a 3 mana flying lifelinker. That's also a 3/3. Okay. Good start. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, again, we're looking at the plot stuff because plot isn't casting it from your hand, You may cast a permanent spell with equal... Does the HP regenerate end of turn? Yes. Yeah, damage falls off at the end of turn, essentially. So if I have a 6/6 and it blocks a 5/5 and goes down to having 1 health, at the end of turn, it goes back to being a 6/6 again. Right, you may cast a permanent spell without... Yeah, so whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Okay, so this is double cast. This is... Kellen is good. I think if you get Kellen, you're playing a plot Kellen deck, and you're going to save up all of your plot cards and cards in hand, and then have a couple of cards in hand. You're going to play Kellen, and you're just going to start throwing your plotted cards down because they don't cost anything. What's lifelink? Whenever it deals damage, you heal that much, or you gain that much life, because there's no cap in Magic. You can have unlimited life as long as you can keep healing. So yeah, this is a 3/3 flying that heals you for 3 if it ever hits anything. But yeah, it's vampire. Is that what it's called in Yu-Gi-Oh? Essentially, you start with 20 life in Magic. If this hits something, you go up to 23. And then, again, if it hits something the next turn, you go up to 26. And your opponent is trying to reduce you to 0. So, obviously, having more is better. But yeah, Kellen is... If you pull Kellen, you're just playing a plot deck. That you just are. He seems very good. I'm a big fan. Alright. Crom Violent Cacophony is a 4-mana 2/3 flyer, and whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on him and draw a card. Okay. No, I like this. I like this more than the other guy. The other guy that was when you cast your second spell and it's a Friday and you trip over a rock, you get to double cast it. Maybe if you fall on your right side or on your left side. Yeah. No. The lifelink heals you, the player, not the card itself. Yeah. So I like this card. This card's good. And this card is way simpler and way better, or way easier to understand. Whenever you play a second card, this gets bigger and you draw a card. And the draw card is the bit you care about. And it has flying as well, so you're just running this card because it has flying. I like this card. This card we like. What the fuck? Laughing Jasper Flint is a 3-mana 4/3. Creatures you control... Wait. Do spells go to the graveyard after use? Yes, they do. Unless they state otherwise. There are certain cards that will state otherwise. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. So creatures you steal from other people are mercenaries. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control, which is at least 1 because he's an outlaw himself. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. I think he's a lizard. Isn't he like a bearded dragon? Isn't that what this... I mean, you can't see my mouse, but I think that's what the thing under his chin is. Isn't he like a bearded dragon? So, this is... At the beginning of your turn... So you play this. If your opponent doesn't kill it, at the beginning of your turn, you at least exile the top card of your opponent's library. You can play that card. If it's a creature, you control it because you played it, but you don't own it, which means it is a mercenary. Which means at the beginning of your turn, you exile 2 cards because you now control 2 outlaws, because mercenary is an outlaw. And if you get another creature off of your opponent, Again, it's a mercenary. So now you control 3 outlaws. So at the beginning of your turn, you get to look through 3 cards, the top 3 cards of their library, and play them. This is a card where if your opponent doesn't deal with it, they're going to get real miserable real fast. And because it's an outlaw, what's a merc in Magic? That was released in this set. So because they're doing like a Wild Wild West set, they have this new keyword called Outlaws. The number of outlaws you control. So one of this guy. Anything that is like a rogue, a mercenary, a warlock. Ugh. They're like subtypes. Like this guy is a lizard rogue. This guy's a fairy rogue. This guy's a human mercenary. See? So it's just a subtype of creature. So this makes all creatures that are on your side of the field that you steal from your opponent into mercenaries as well as whatever else they are. Which means they're outlaws. Which means they allow you to trigger the second part. Because mercenary is a type of outlaw. So essentially, this card is steal the top card of your opponent's library 1 turn. If it's a creature, next turn you steal 2. If there's a creature in that, the turn after you steal 3. Yeah, it's also a 4/3 for 3, which is good stats. This is a good card. This is a very good card. What is Lazav doing back? Stay in your lane, Lazav. Lazav is a 3 mana 1/4. Looks cool, sounds cool, and uses a new cool gimmick. Yeah, I think this guy is a good card. I think if you get him, you're probably very happy to play him if you're playing red-black. You probably go red-black if you're playing him. Lazov, Familiar Stranger. 3 mana for a 1/4. Whenever you commit a crime, which at the bottom in the slide text, it explains what committing a crime is. Put a +1/+1 counter on Lazov. Then you may exile a card from a graveyard. Wait, does this not go infinite? What? So, whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on Lazov. And then exile a card from a graveyard. If you exile a card from your opponent's graveyard... Oh, it's not target. You technically don't target. Okay, because it doesn't say exile target card. It's just exile a card. And because it doesn't say target, it's technically not targeting, I think. Oh, it can also only trigger once each turn. That's fine. Exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, you may have Lazav become a copy of it until end of turn. Yeah, he grows infinitely as long as you can commit crimes. And becomes copies of creatures. But because they're +1/+1 counters, the creature that you copy still keeps the +1/+1 because counters stick to the card. So it doesn't matter. If this is a 1/4, it becomes a 2/5. But if you copy a 7/7, it's actually an 8/8 because it's still got the +1/+1. If you get what I mean. The +1/+1 is stuck to the card, not what the card is. And he can block 1/4. Yeah, he's not bad. Blocking creatures are never really too good. Usually you want attacking creatures, unless you're playing specifically defensive. I guess, to be fair, this isn't black, so you've probably got a bunch of destroy creature spells. Could just play defensive. Yeah, this is pretty good. The fact that you can only trigger it once each turn is a little bit annoying, but will scale to attack. Yeah. I don't think you're ever attacking with Lazov as Lazov. I think you're stealing cards from your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard and making Lazov into copies of it. But, I think this is good. I like the commit crimes mechanic. It's funny. Makes me laugh. Just touching any of your opponent's stuff is committing a crime. Love it. Lila, Undefeated Slick Shot. A 3 mana 3/3 with prowess. Okay. When you cast a multicolored instant or sorcery spell from your hand, exile that spell instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, it becomes plotted. Okay. So this woman doubles up spells. This is pretty good. I mean, your opponent's going to know you have them because you've already cast them once. And I don't know what multicolored instant... I mean, this is the thing. So committing a crime is targeting your opponents, anything they control, or cards in their graveyard. And trust me, you might not have played with Magic players. That is exactly what a lot of Magic players would say is committing a crime to them personally. Like, the amount of times you're like, oh, I'm going to steal your creature. And they're like, oh, why me? Why my creature? And you're just like, bro, it's not that big a deal. Calm down. It's a card game. It's fine. But yeah, you are personally attacking anyone in Magic if you do anything to any of their cards. Unless it's a 1v1 game, and then, you know, it's understandable. But in multiplayer games, people in Magic get so tilted when you target them. It's funny. But yeah, so this woman, I don't know what multicolored instant or sorcery spells... I mean, we've seen mostly creatures. Is there any instant or sorcery spells we've seen? This. So that's 1. 2. Yeah, 2. So, currently she doesn't copy very much. But, if there is a good one, whenever you cast a multicolored instant or sorcery spell, instead of putting it in the graveyard, you exile it and it becomes plotted, which means next turn you can play it again. The first yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to walk in, you have to actually commit crimes. You have to go, like, run outside of wherever you're having the pre-release and, like, slash someone's tires and then run back in and you've committed a crime. Oh, but yeah, this one, again, I don't think there's enough support in the set. Currently, we haven't seen any good multicolored instant or sorcery spells that you might want to copy in red-blue. There's a lot of red and blue single-colored cards, but this one specifies multicolored, so... probably not good enough. Make your own luck. 5 mana sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may exile an online card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted. Put the rest into your hand. Wait, is this... Okay, it's a 5 mana draw 3, technically. Draw 2 and then plot one of them. Green can ramp. So this can come out before turn 5. This can come out like turn 3. And then I think this card is okay. Is Library the deck? Yes. Library is what you call your deck. So yeah, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Exile a non-land card from among them that becomes plotted. So you can't play it this turn, but you can play it next turn. And put the other 2 cards in your hand. And then next turn you play whatever you plot. There's the thing. If you plot something good, this is a great card. If the 3 cards you draw is land, 1 mana creature, it's crap. But it is draw. And green usually lacks draw, so this would probably be fine. I don't know. We'll see. I probably wouldn't run it. It can be, but it can also suck. I don't know. I might not run it, but I'd probably not run it and then really want it. OP Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed doesn't cost mana. This costs 5 mana. You're not playing this till turn... Well, if you ramp with green, turn 3 or 4, but... If you're not ramping, turn 5. I don't know. Right. Malcolm the Eyes. A 2 mana 2/2 flying haste. We're probably playing this because it's got flying. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, investigate. Create a clue token that you can sacrifice to draw a card. Yeah. Yeah, this is good. I like this. This is better. This is whenever you play 2 cards, you get something. These are the cards I kind of like. This is the card that... So you've got that zombie card that is whenever you play 2 cards, draw a card. I'm getting a lot of cards for turn 5. Yeah, I mean, this is not massively, but maybe, like, blue can draw 2 cards for 2 or 3 mana, usually. So, you're essentially drawing 2 cards for... You're paying 2 extra mana for whatever the card you plot is. So, as long as you plot something that costs 2 or more, that's great. But if you don't hit something that costs 2 or more, it's going to feel really fucking bad. But green doesn't have access to draw like blue does. So the fact that it's a green-blue and you get good... Like, green has access to that card. All they have to do is have a blue mana in there. I think it's playable. I don't think I'd play it, but I think it's certainly playable. For people who like draw more than I do. I'd rather have a big creature and just smash you in the face. But if you like draw, then it's probably that one. Malcolm's good as well. We like Malcolm. He is just... He flies, he has haste, he comes down, hits your opponent, and then starts making that card advantage. We like Malcolm. What is your name? Marquesa, Dealer of Death? Okay. 3 mana for a 3/4. Wow, that's not bad. Whenever you commit a crime, you may pay 1. And as we said, you're going to be committing in... I like the 6/5 dog from earlier. Well, remember, the 6/5 dog hits your opponent for 6. Like, this doesn't do damage. This is draw 3 cards. And one of them you can cast next turn guaranteed. This is your opponent went from 20 life to 14... and you drew 3 cards. And then next turn, they go from 14 to 8. And the turn after that, they go down to 2. And if they still haven't dealt with it, the turn after that, they're dead. That's why I prefer this. Because I want to kill my opponent. This is just drawing cards. This is not killing my opponent. This kills my opponent while I also draw cards. Yeah, the difference... Yeah. The difference is I would prefer the creature... like, for 5 mana, I'd prefer a creature to just draw. The draw is still good, but I want the creature. I'm one of those players. I just like the creatures. I want my creatures and I want to smash. So I would prefer taking a 5 mana big creature over 5 mana draw 3 cards and... Yeah. The draw is probably better, but I'd prefer to just have the creature just to hit people. And if the creature has draw in it, just that's bonus. But obviously not every creature can have that. So yeah, Marquesa, Dealer of Death. So in blue, black, and red, you are going to be committing a crime every turn without trying. You're just gonna commit crimes by existing. So whenever you commit a crime, you may pay 1 extra. If you do, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and the other into your graveyard. This is good. This is... Again, I don't know how much support it's going to have in Limited, but this is... As long as you're doing things that blue, black, and red want to do, which is fuck with your opponent, which is all you're going to be doing, you have extra cards. Forever. Honestly, you might be doing so much crime, you might run out of cards and lose the game. But... for the time being, while you have this card on the field, your opponent is not going to be able to play the game. Because you're going to have so many cards in hand, you're going to be committing so much crime, your opponent's going to be crying. Mirim Herd Whisperer is a 2 mana 3/2. As long as your turn, mounts and vehicles have hexproof. Whenever a mount or vehicle you control attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This is really good. This is really good. So, this is on your turn, your mount creatures. So we saw green and white is green and white are doing the mount thing. We saw that with this thing back here. What if your library is used up? If you try and draw a card and you don't have a card in your library to draw, you lose the game instantly. I don't know how it works in Yu-Gi-Oh, but if you run out of cards in your library in Magic, you lose the game if you try and draw a card. And there are certain situations where it doesn't, but the basic rule is if you can't draw a card because there's none left in your library, you lose the game instantly. And for limited, you only have 40 cards in a deck because the decks are much smaller. And this card, you can go through your deck real fast. But yeah, this card I like. This card, as we saw with the green-white flying one that you said would be good if you have lots of mount cards. All of your mount cards can no longer be targeted by your opponent on your turn. If they want to kill them, they have to do it on their own turn, which is a pain for control players because they can't play on their own turn. They can most kill spells are what we call instant speed, so you can play them in your opponent's turn. Control players love to play in their opponent's turn because generally control just has a bunch of instant speed stuff, so they don't have to do anything on their own turn. So this card says, haha, fuck you, now you have to play on your own turn. I love that. All about it. And it makes your stuff steadily bigger as well. I like this card a lot. Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, is a 4-mana 2/5. How can you play in your opponent's turn? Instant speed spells can be played at any time. So, even on your opponent's turn, if they say, I attack you with this creature... No. Magic has something called priority. So, when it's your turn, if you're just like playing a land, sure, whatever. But as soon as you do something, say, I cast this spell. Do you have anything you want to do to it? I can then say yes or no, depending on what I have in my hand. And then it'll either come into play or it won't if I did something to it. It's the same. If you attack me with a creature, I can say, I will destroy that creature with this instant speed destroy spell. And then your creature dies and nothing happens. But this creature means that when it's your turn, all of your mount creatures can't be messed with. So when you attack, your opponent can't blow them up so they don't deal them damage because they're all hexproof. Which is brilliant. I like that. Right. So Obeka, Splitter of Seconds is a 2/5 menace for... Does the opponent know which card you're playing? Yeah, you have to show them. You cast it from your hand, so you show the card the effect. And like I said, so sorcery cards like this one, Make Your Own Luck, can only be played in your turn. Oh my god, we don't have any instants. 1 second. I'll go find an instant somewhere. Boop. Wrong one. There. Instant speeds. These you can play at any time. Usually they cost a little bit more for similar effects. So if, you know, there's deal 5 damage. For sorcery, that might cost you 3. For instant, it might cost you 4. Usually, instant speed spells cost more because you can do them at any time. But yeah, you have to reveal the card you're playing. Anyway, whenever Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. What? How many trigger on up? Actually, this triggers on upkeep. Wait. At the beginning of your upkeep, what are upkeeps? The start of your turn. It's actually a phase in Magic. The start of your turn is called your upkeep. I think it's upkeep, untap, draw are the 3 starting phases, and then you move into your first main phase where you can actually cast things. But because they are phases, instant speed spells can be played in them. But yeah, so this guy, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the cards. So if you have this guy and you attack with her and she dealt 2 damage, you get 2 extra upkeep phases. So this guy triggers 2 more times. So at the beginning of your turn, this guy would trigger, and then on combat, she would hit you, and then at the end of combat, you'd get 2 extra upkeeps, so this guy would trigger again and again. And then it would be the end of your turn. At the beginning of your turn, this guy triggers again. And if she hits them again, you trigger 2 more times. I don't know, I think if you get this card and you have a bunch of upkeep triggers, you probably just play it. But I don't know how many upkeep cards, apart from that one, because I remember this one. Apart from that one, I don't know how many upkeep cards we've seen. So, maybe she's good, maybe she's bad, I'm not sure. She has to attack, which probably makes her a bit worse. But she is a warlock, so the 2 mana removal doesn't hit her. She's okay. She's probably good, actually. She's probably very good, but I don't know what other upkeep stuff there is. Oko, the ringleader. Hello, Oko. So you're a 4 mana planeswalker with 3 loyalty. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko, the ringleader. We all remember the cowboy dog. Yes, we do. We do remember cowboy dog. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko the Ringleader becomes a copy of up to 1 target creature you control until end of turn, except he has hexproof. So he can attack. Cool. +1, draw 2 cards if you've committed a crime this turn. In green-blue, committing crimes isn't easy, but you discard a card, otherwise discard 2. Sure. And then for -1, so he can protect himself because he can make a green elk creature token. Sure. But he does go down to 2. Like, if you play him for 4 and then -1 him, he goes down to 2 and can just die to, like, shock or something. So that's not too bad. He's not as OP as he was the first time they printed this bastard. And then for -5, for each other non-land permanent you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. So essentially double your board. But you're probably not letting him get to 5. At least you're hopefully not. Comes down on turn 4. Goes to 4. He has to get through a whole turn. +1 to get to 5. And then another whole turn. And then -5. And that still kills him. You just double everything else. I mean, it's a Planeswalker. In Limited, Planeswalkers are really good all of the time. Because they're just good. They're just great value all of the time. I wasn't sure about the Jace. But Oko protects himself because he makes an elk creature token, so he's at least 4 mana, here's something you need to deal with, and a way that I can stop a creature from attacking it. He's probably good. Probably very good. But, again, I don't know what you'd want to copy with him. Or want him to become a copy of. But yeah, he's probably very good. Pillage the Bog is 2 mana, sorcery, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is twice the number of lands you control. You could. Well, no, because it's at the beginning of combat, and it's only until end of turn. Where is the guy? Also, he's a legendary creature, so you can't. Yeah, you can't. You can only have 1 copy of a legendary creature on the board, or else you have to destroy one of them. So you can't copy him because he's a legendary. Sadly. Anyway, Pillage the Bog. Look at the top X cards of your library. Commit an extra crime. Yeah, that's true. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is twice the number of lands you control. So when you play this, it's 2, so 4. Put 1 of them in the hand, and the rest of your bottom in the bottom of your library in a random order. I like this card. I like actually. 2 mana. Look at the top 4. 1 into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library. Sure. This is fine. It's cheap. So. And then you can plot it for 3 and do it later if you want. Yeah, I like this card. It's cheap and it just, you know, gets anything you want. Rakdos joins up. Hey Rakdos, how you doing, buddy? So your 5 mana, when it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. That's actually good. Whenever a legendary creature you control dies, Rakdos joins up, deals damage equal to that creature's power to target opponent. That's also very good. There have actually been a lot of legendary creatures in here, right? You could return Jasper Flint back from your graveyard, and he'd be a 6/5. Not bad. And then if he died, he'd deal 6 damage to your opponent. Actually, I quite like this one. It's just, you know, 5 mana is what you play to reanimate creatures. That's just what it costs. So this is 5 mana to reanimate with upside, and then if anything legendary dies, your opponent takes some punishment. I like this. Rakdos the Muscle. Oh. He is a 5 mana 6/5 flying trample. Already, I'm in love with this card. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, which in red and black you do all the time, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library, which is probably your opponent. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those cards, so you're just stealing shit from your opponent. Sacrifice another creature, he becomes indestructible, which means the only way you can get rid of him is with exile. This card is stupidly good. Like, you play this, because it's, yeah, this card is insane. This card is nuts. So you play this as a 6/5, and if your opponent tries to do anything with Rakdos, you just sack a creature and take stuff from the top of their library. And say, no thanks, he's indestructible, and also yoink. And there's, Black has 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, which triggers this. So you 1 mana, sack a 4/4, you get to draw your 2 cards, and you get to mill your opponent for 4 and play anything you want. This card is insane. This card is nuts. If you have this card, you're just playing this card. This is the second set where Rakdos has been absolutely fucking insane. God, this card is strong. 6/5 dog is supreme. I mean, I think Rakdos is probably the best card we've seen. Riku of Many Paths. I remember Riku of 2 Reflections or something was a card I tried to make a commander deck around and it was terrible. Looks like Riku's back. So he's a 3 mana 3/3. Whenever you cast a module spell, choose up to X, where X is the number of times you chose a mode for that spell. Okay, this is going to take some explaining. Module spells are these. So you see it has 2 separate modes. So if you played this one, you'd have to pay 2, then 3 and 4, because you're paying for both of the costs. And when that would happen, X would be 2, because X is the number of, because you chose 2 modes. So then you get to choose 2 from here. So every time you cast one of the module spells, you get to choose one of the things here for the number of modes you picked. And there is 1, 2, or 3 modes. And most module spells have 2 or 3 modes. Exile top card of your library until the end of your turn, you may play it. Okay. Put a +1/+1 counter on Riku of the Many Paths. It gains trample until end of turn. Nice, so this guy gets bigger and hurts people. Or create a bird that flies. Probably that one. Probably that one every time. Yeah, I like Riku. If you're doing a mod, there's so many different decks you can do. Like Rakdos wants you to do like sacrifice. Riku wants you to do module. There's a bunch of support for the Outlaws. There's a bunch of crime support. Bunch of support for plotting. There's so much support for all of the different archetypes in this set. This set is going to be fucking great. So yeah, I like Riku. I don't know how good a full module deck would be, but if I get him, I'll try it and I'll tell you guys. Roxanne, Starfall, Savon. Okay. 5 mana for a 4/3. When Roxanne's Starfall Savant enters the battlefield or attacks, okay, so it triggers once at least, create a tapped colorless artifact token named Meteorite. With Meteorite, when Meteorite enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. 3 different... it can be. Because... So, the way mana works in Magic is it comes in 5 colors. Blue, green, red, black, and white. And basic lands, which are what you're going to use most of the time, only have 1 color. So for green, it's a forest. For blue, it's an island. For red, it's a mountain. That, if you're playing this guy, it means you have to have all 3 basic land types in your deck. And you have to get all 3 basic land types out to play it. But there are lands that come with 2 colors. Sometimes. Probably at the end of this, we'll see them. So there's a chance it's not too hard to do. And also, generally, you want to be playing 2 colors anyway, because the colors are all good at different things. Yes. So if you're playing 2 colors, you would have to... What I would do is I'd probably say I'm playing green-red with all the 4 color things. All the 4 power things, and then I'd put 2 or 3 islands in, play this guy and any module card or any module cards I have, and if you get this out and do the module stuff, it's just extra stuff. Like splash, what they call splashing a 3rd color, where you put like 1 or 2 of the lands and maybe 1 of the 2 color lands that taps for that color, isn't too bad. Trying to make a deck that is, you know, even all 3 colors is difficult. But splashing with like a small amount of mana just for like 1 or 2 cards of a color, that's totally doable. And that's what you can do with Riku. Plus, this is about to fix all the problems as well. So, whenever this enters the battlefield or attacks, so it automatically triggers because you play it once, you create a Meteorite. What if you only get the splash at like turn 6? Then he sits in your hand until turn 6. There are ways to get around it, this being one of them. So yeah, this woman, when this card, when it enters the battlefield, you get a Meteorite that deals 2 damage to any target, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. And whenever you tap an artifact token, so one of the Meteorites, for mana, it adds 1 extra mana. So with this woman, you can have all 5 colors if you want. So there are ways to get around it. In green earlier on, there was also a bunch of cards that had tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it's not that hard to get 3 colors. Going more than 3, probably difficult. But as long as you're splashing, I think Riku's doable. But yes, I like this card. This card is 5 mana for a 4/3. I forgot I'd taken the lid off. 5 mana for a 4/3 that makes an extra mana. That's not a dog. That's true, that is a cat. That makes it worse. But it's alright. It still does good stuff even though it's a cat. So we'll let it slide. Ruthless Lawbringer, the Vampire Assassin. 3 mana for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you just do... I sent a donkey emoji. Apparently, I don't have that one. It did not show up. You may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target non-land permanent. This is a good card. If you've got tokens, this just eats a token, destroys anything. This is removal stapled to a creature. This is a good card. Satoru the Infiltrator. Okay. A 2 mana 2/3 with Menace. Whenever Satoru the Infiltrator and 1 or more other non-token creatures enter the battlefield under your control. If none of them were cast, or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. Menace is, it has to be blocked by 2 creatures. 1 creature can't block it, it requires 2. This is weird. This is another, so this is another plot card. But, yeah, so every time you play a creature that you plotted, you draw a card. And if you can plot this guy, he also draws you a card, but he doesn't have plot himself, so you have to plot him some other way. I mean, it's got card draw in it, sure, why not? It's a 2 mana, 2/3 with Menace, good card. It's a bit weird, but I think it's good, yeah. Oh my god. Selvala, Eager Trailblazer is a 4 mana 4/5 with Vigilance. Nice. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you create one of the mercenaries. And you can tap her, choose a colour, add 1 mana of that colour for each different power among creatures you control. So if you've got her out, she's a 4, and then you cast something else, she makes a mercenary which is a 1, so the following turn she at least taps for 2 mana of any colour. That's not bad. It's a bit weird. I mean, no, it's a 4 mana 4/5 with Vigilance that creates creatures. This is a good card. I'm looking at the choose a colour and add mana for that different, but I think she's just a good card by herself. The tapping to add mana is just upside. Or if you're playing a 3-colour deck again, you know, just an easy splash. Yeah, I think she's really good. I like this. Oh my god. Seraphic Steed. A 2 mana 2/2 with First Strike and lifelink. Wow. And whenever it attacks while saddled, you create a 3/3 white. This is insane. And but it does cost 4. It does have saddle 4. Which means you have to saddle it with a creature with power 4 or more. Which she can do. This card is really good if you can get it saddled. Although it doesn't have flying. So it is on the ground. And it's only a 2/2. It does have First Strike, though. I'm going to go to the bathroom again and I'm going to think about it. I'll be right back. Okay. Okay. Right. This is a good card. Yeah. Menace. Oh my. I'm sure you don't need me to remind you about it a little bit. So, First Strike is if this fights a creature that doesn't have First Strike, this deals damage to the creature before taking damage back. So if this blocks something, if this is blocked by something that has 2 toughness, or blocks something that has 2 toughness, and it doesn't have First Strike, this kills it before it, and doesn't take any damage in return. Lifelink is whenever it deals damage, it heals you, the player. And Vigilance, this doesn't have Vigilance, fine. First strike is fast as fuck. Yep. That's it. There's also double strike, which attacks in the first strike phase and in the normal phase. But we won't worry about that for now. We'll just stick with first strike. So this thing beats anything that has 2 toughness and heals you. And if you do saddle it, it starts pumping out 3/3 creatures with flying, which is just insane. But it doesn't have flying itself, so it's kind of stuck on the ground. So you're going to have a lot of things blocking it, or a lot of things that can block it. And it's also saddle 4. So you need a creature with power. Lifelink is the vamp thing, yes. Yeah, you need a creature with power 4 or more to saddle this thing. Not the spell shield. That's hexproof. You know what? Also, these are just like the eternal keywords. There's like so many keywords. Hexproof. Yeah. Magic gets very complicated. But I like this card. I mean, I like green. I like all of the green cards. All the green cards I've seen have been really good. I think this card is very good if you can get it going. I think it requires a little bit of effort to get it going, but I think if you do get it, it's just, I mean, it's just pumping out angels, which is gross. Yes. Slick Sequence. For 2 mana, Slick Sequence deals 2 damage to any target. If you've cast another spell this turn, draw a card. Haste it doesn't have summoning sickness, so it can attack right away. Or it can do stuff the turn it comes in. This is okay. This is good, actually. Well, yeah, this is good. I mean, it's 2 mana for 2 damage, which is too expensive. It should be 1 mana. But you do get to draw a card out of it. Like, if you essentially plot into this, so you play a plot card for free and then you play this for 2, this is 2 mana to deal 2, draw a card, which is really nice. So this card is really good. But you have to play it with plot, or else this is like, you have to play a card first, then play this, and then it's like 4 mana and to deal 2, draw a card, and it's just, or 3 mana, I suppose. Yeah, I like this card, but you kind of need to plot with it, really. Tai Wakeen Perfect Shot. Okay. A 2 mana 2/3. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal... Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal to that creature's toughness, draw a card. Okay, so if you exactly kill something with a spell, you draw a card. Tap X tap. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player this turn, it deals that much damage plus X instead. Okay. Okay. So this is, if you use a spell to do exactly lethal damage, you draw a card. Exactly lethal damage to a creature, you draw a card. And if you have a big burn spell, it gets bigger. If you tap X and tap her. Or if you just have a normal burn spell, it makes it burn bigger. How good is that in limited? I don't know, because you probably won't have enough burn spells to make this good. I would say this is not great in limited, because you probably don't have the spells to support it, but this card looks cool. But I just don't think it's good enough in limited. I don't think it has the support. Yes, instants can be used in the opponent's turn. Vile Smasher, Gleeful Grenadier. 2 mana for a 3/2. Does some damage. Whenever another outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, he deals 1 damage to target opponent. Okay. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, lifelink is vampire, I guess. It is Cowboy Dobby, and he's hurting you. Yeah, I think this card's good, right? You play this guy, you just start vomiting out mercenaries and outlaws and yeah, so outlaws are assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. Anytime you play one of those, he just hurts your opponent. And he's also a good attacker because he's a 2-mana 3/2. This is decent in aggro. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, turn 2, play this. Turn 3, your opponent takes some damage and you just start swinging. Yeah, I like this guy. This guy's good. Vraska joins up. I have seen this one. When Vraska joins up, enters the battlefield, put a death touch counter on each creature. Hey, a new keyword, death touch. On each creature you control. That's really good. This second part, whenever a legendary creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. There are actually quite a few legendary creatures, so maybe that comes in handy. But just the top card. I mean, in Limited, you get board stalled a lot. Imagine you're board stalled with your opponent. You play this. Every creature you control now has death touch. Turn them sideways. Your opponent's just fucking sad. This is very good in Limited just for that first text alone. You don't worry about the second text. 2 mana, everything you control has death touch. Very good. The rest of it, you don't worry about. I mean, the rest of it could be useful, but the rest of it... What's Death Touch? Death Touch is if the creature... yeah, just one shot. Any amount of damage the creature deals is enough to kill another creature. So if you had a 50-50 and it blocked a 1-1 with Death Touch, the 50-50 still dies. As does the 1-1, it gets smushed into oblivion, but the 50-50 still dies. It's usually like... snakes and things that are like poisonous and stuff usually have the death touch mechanic because it's like, you know, they just have poison and it still kills you sort of thing. So yeah, this makes Spy TF2 backstab, sure. This makes every creature on your side of the field kill whatever blocks it, or whatever it blocks. This is a very good card, I think. I don't really care about the second part, it's just, you know, the cherry on top. The first part is what you're picking this for, and I think you're picking this in Limited. A lot. Like every time. It's so good. All your creatures get Death Touch is really good. Unless there's a board wipe, and there's only one of those in white, so. And Vraska herself, who is a 3-mana 3/3 with Death Touch. Okay. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controlled dies, you may pay... The second part seems really good. Of this one... Well, it depends on how many legendary creatures you have, but there are a lot of legendary creatures, I suppose. It could be. It could be very good. But again, if you're not using legendary... because legendary creatures are so specific, you might not have any. But if you do have legendary creatures, then yes, this is very good. How many good legendaries are there? I don't know. But... I will say, so you see the orange symbol after Gorgon Assassin. That means Vraska is a mythic rare, which means you are very unlikely to see her. I think it's 1 in every 14 packs is supposed to have a mythic rare. The golden symbol, is rare, which every pack has 1 rare card. The silver symbol is uncommon, and every pack has 4 uncommons. So the problem is how many legendary creatures are rare, uncommon, or mythic. This is what you got to ask yourself. Because if all of them or most of them are rare or mythic, you're probably only going to have 2, 3, maybe 4 of them in your deck. So if you don't have them down when this comes in or your opponent kills them, and usually legendary creatures are sort of your big bomb creatures, so your opponent's going to want to kill them anyway. This is the problem. I think you care more about the top than the top half of this card than the second half, but if you do have a legendary creature, the second half is very good. Right. Does any legendary benefit from drawing? Possibly, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and look through them all, and I'm not going to go all the way back. Not that I can think of, but there might be one. Anyway, Vraska the Silencer is a 3/3 for 3 with Death Touch. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controlled dies, you may pay 1. If you do, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact that you can sacrifice to add 1 mana of any color, and it loses all other card types. Okay. So essentially, Vraska is the Gorgon, who's going to turn all your non-token creatures to stone, and then we're going to use them to pay for things. Thanks. This is a really good card as well. This is value on top of your kill spells, which is always insane. So, yeah, Vraska is... I mean, she was obviously going to be insane, but yeah, Vraska is insane. Wrangler of the Damned is a 5-mana 1/4 with flash. So you can play it in your opponent's turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, create a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying. Okay. This is pretty good. No, it's a non-token creature. It's still a creature, just not a token. Yeah, look at them all. They're all turned to stone. She turned them all to stone. But it's okay, because we can use that stone to pay for our magic cards. So we're fine. As long as she's on our side, we're fine. Yeah, Wrangler of the Damned. You flash it in at the end of your opponent's turn. And then you, at the beginning of your turn, non-token, yeah. And then at the beginning of your... So, yeah, this is probably fine. Because this is like a 5-mana 3/6 that can give you more value if your opponent... This is another one of those, like, your opponent has to deal with it card. And I like cards like that. So this is probably pretty good. Oh, God. Wily... Oh, my God. What? How do you say that? Wily Duke? Atin Hero? Is a 3-mana 4/2 with Vigilance, and whenever he becomes tapped, you gain a life and draw a card. Okay. So you need a way to tap him, but he is good. Because he has Vigilance, which means he doesn't tap while attacking. So you actually have to come up with a way to tap him. Vigilance means that when you attack, he doesn't tap. So with this guy, the most common way to tap him would be you attack with him. When you attack, he would become tapped, you would gain a life and draw a card. But because he's got Vigilance, he doesn't tap. So you have to come up with a different way to tap him. Which I think we've seen one. I think we've seen one way to tap this guy, but there might be other ways to tap him. I mean, he's good, I think. Yeah, I like him. Yeah, well, it's not that attack... Yeah, attack can't tap, yeah. You can still tap him for other things. So if we go back here... all the way back. Where is this guy? Have I gone too far? I think I've gone too far. Where was the guy that copied things? Here. Right. Non-token creatures you control have tap. Create a token that's a copy of target token you control that enters the battlefield this turn. So with this, because it's a non-token creature... you could tap him. You understand? So you can't attack with him. But, well, attacking doesn't cause him to tap. But you can tap him with other means. You just need to find something to tap him. And when you do, you gain a life and draw a card. He's also a 3-mana 4/2 that just beats ass because he's got vigilance. But yeah, I think you want to find a way to tap him. I think if you have a way to tap him regularly, he's a good card. If you don't, he's a 4-mana 4. He's a 3-mana 4/2 with vigilance. Sure. Right, we're on to artifacts. Oh my god, my throat. Ugh. The way it's written is attacking doesn't cause this card to tap, because tapping is kind of an effect that to show you have attacked with a creature, you usually you have to tap it. So vigilance is usually you don't have to tap the creature. Well, you don't tap the creature when you attack with it. But I think this one specifically, like, you can't tap it to attack. Which is usually a good thing, but for this guy, it's specifically a bad thing. I think this is the first time I've ever seen a card where I want it to tap, and it has vigilance and it doesn't. Which is very weird, but I do like it. I like the fact that they put this in. It's just a bit weird, because I don't think I've ever seen a card like it. Anyway, Bandit's Hall. For 3 mana, it's an artifact. Whenever you commit a crime, put a loot counter on Bandit's Hall. You can only do that once a turn, sure. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any colour. Okay, sure. And you can tap 2 and tap it, remove 2 loot counters from it, draw a card. Okay. Yeah, as long as you're, regularly committing crimes. Red, blue, black, love this card. Smooths out your mana, lets you draw cards. I think this is good. In a crime deck, this is probably really good in Limited. Because you're not going to have access to all the really good cards. This is just good. I think I like this in Limited. Boombox. 2 mana for an artifact that you can tap 6 and tap. Destroy 1 target artifact, 1 target creature, and 1 target land. It's very expensive removal. If you don't have any other removal, maybe you play it because it blows up everything. Yeah. Vigilance, you don't tap the creature when you attack with it. Yes. To be fair, at this point, I've been talking for 5 hours straight. My throat's starting to get sore. But yeah, I don't think Boombox is a great card. You probably still run it if you don't have any other removal, but it's 6 mana. I suppose it does destroy an artifact, creature, and land. Maybe you run it. I don't know. I probably wouldn't run it, but maybe you do. Gold Pan. Okay. 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. Sure. So you can technically equip it in the turn it comes in, and it gives the creature +1/+1. Mediocre at best. Lava Spur Boots. 1 mana. For equipped creature has +1/+0, haste, and ward. So not Swiftfoot Boots, but not bad. I'd play these. Yeah, I'd play these. These are good. I like these. I would play these. Even in Limited, I'd play these. Give anything haste and ward for 1 mana, I'd play these. Yeah. Big fan. Luxurious Locomotive. A 5 mana vehicle. When it attacks, create a treasure token for each creature that crewed it. And it can only be... okay. And it's crew 1. Those are some weird looking tabby. Well, these. tabbies. Is that a type of boot that I don't know? Tabby to me is a cat. Ninja tabbies. Oh, as in the boots from League. Yes. I don't know. With Ward, I think they're Merc treads. I don't think they're tabbies. I think they're Merc treads, not tabbies. Yeah. So this locomotive is sure. I don't care for this, but maybe if you need treasures, this does generate treasures. I don't like it. It's 5 mana for a 6/5 that doesn't do anything, I guess. It's only got crew 1, I suppose, so it's not hard to make it into a 6/5, but Mobile Homestead. A 2 mana 3/3. Mobile Homestead has haste as long as you control a mount. Whenever Mobile Homestead attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. Okay, I actually don't mind this. 5 of any mana, yes. Just stats. But it's not a creature unless you tap another creature and make it into a creature. That's what crew means. Tap any number of creatures you control with total power 1 or more. This vehicle becomes a creature until end of turn. So it's not a creature unless you unless you give another creature's power to it. I mean, it is a lot of stats. But it just... I don't know. I've never liked vehicles, but this one might be good. To be fair, I like this Mobile Homestead. You have to crew 2, but it gets you land cards onto the battlefield. And you can probably just crew it when it comes in, because it'll have haste if you control a mount. I like this card. If you have mounts, I like this card. Oasis Gardener. Okay. Yeah, it's a Scarecrow. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and add 1 mana of any colour. Sure. It's a 3 mana 2/2 that taps for mana. Great. It's a bit overpriced for a mana nerd. Green pays 1 or 2 for that, but sure. Red Rock Sentinel is a 3 mana 2/4 defender. Sacrifice a land, draw a card, and create a treasure token. That's not bad, actually. Like, later on in the game, when you don't need all your lands, you could just chew up lands to draw cards, and then you still have treasure tokens that you can use to pay for things anyway. I mean, it's only a 3 mana 2/4, and it's got defender, so it's not good. But yeah, if you don't have good card draw, maybe this is how you're drawing cards. Silver Deputy. Okay, a 2 mana 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or a desert. Reveal it and shuffle it and put it on top. Probably fine. Well, the crew number depends, but yes. So this is like one of the mercenary tokens. It has the same ability as the mercenary tokens, but it also lets you search for a land. Maybe this is good if you're playing like 3 colors and you need to go looking for a basic land or desert. I think I like this card. I don't think it's good. Maybe I'd play like 1, but I don't think it's particularly good. Sterling Hound. Eugene, it's a doggo! Although, it's an artifact doggo and it looks a bit weird. Still, it's 3 mana 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, you surveil 2. 3 mana 3/2, sorry, not 1/2. It's not good, but it's a dog, so I'll give it a pass. It's the bestest of boys. Tomb Trawler. Okay. A 2 mana 0/4. Put type. Okay. There's usually one of these. It's a penguin. Yep. There's one of these in most sets, and they're always meh. Ooh, the deserts. There you go. Here's the 2-color lands. And they do 1 damage when they enter. Okay. So I'm assuming we have a desert for everything. So white-red desert. Ooh. Arid Archway enters the battlefield tapped. When Arid Archway enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. If another desert was returned this way, surveil 1. And you can add 2 colorless with it. Yeah. Yeah, the 2-color ones, you can choose the color of mana you get. So that's why the 2-color ones are pretty good. This one only gives colorless mana. And you have to bounce a land back to your hand. I mean, maybe that's still good. I don't know. I'd probably still take it just because it's a desert. If the deserts are all common as well, we should get lots of deserts for your desert deck. There's the green-red desert. Conduit pylons. When it enters, surveil 1, add a colorless, or tap something else and tap this to add 1 mana of any color. That's pretty standard. I like the surveil. That's not standard, but the add 1 mana of any color for exchange is usually. There's the 2-color green-red, blue. Yeah. So there's 1 of every color, pretty much every color combo. Mirage Messer enters the battlefield tapped. As it enters, choose a color. Add 1 mana of the chosen color. Okay, so this is whatever land you want it to be. Sandstorm Verge. So you tap it for colorless, or for 3, target creature can't block this turn. This is alright. I like this. Another 2-color land. The Ranch. Add colorless, add 1 mana of any color, spend this only to cast mount spells. Oh, so this is like the Mount Desert card. Look at the... Are these new concepts with multi... No. There's lots of multicolored lands. Usually they have different effects. Some can be turned into creatures. Some have 3 colors instead of 2 colors. Some... If not, then the type of colours. Yes. There might be some other lands later on that are slightly different. But they all do different things. Some can come into play untapped. Because you see these all enter the battlefield tapped. That means you can't use them the turn you play them. Because you tap lands to generate the mana with them. That's obviously what this tap symbol means. So when you play this card, because it enters tapped, you can't use it. There are other 2-color lands that come into play untapped if you meet certain requirements. Being like, if you control less than 3 lands, if you control more than 3 lands, if you pay 2 life, all manner of different things. So yeah, there's been a lot of these sort of cards. Anyway, so we were at this one. Tap 3, tap, look at the top card of your library. If it's a mount card, reveal it and put it to your hand. If you don't, you may put it on the bottom of your library. That's pretty good if you're running a lot of mounts. It's just an extra card draw. There you go. So these are the rare ones. So here's another 2-color land, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So this one always enters the battlefield tapped, deals 1 damage to your opponent, and you can make green or black. This one enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer lands, and you can still make it blue, green or black. And these are rare. These are common. So, yeah. There's another rare one, and another one, and another one. And these are the base lands. So we've done it. We've got through all of the cards. These are the full art ones. What do I think of the full art ones? I like the plains. The plains is good. I like the island. I like the swamp, but my partner's going to say there's too much green in there and he confuses it for a forest. I like the mountain. Oh no, the forest looks... There's no way you confuse these two. There is no way. And that's it. We're done. What was that? 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 5 hours, 45 minutes of talking through all of these cards. My throat hurts a lot. But we've done it. These are all the cards that should be coming out next Saturday. Well, the pre-release is next Saturday. And then they'll probably go live on... Thank you, Eugene. But as I've said before, I would never ask that for... I don't like doing that sort of thing, because when I watch other streamers and video people do it and they ask everyone to like and subscribe and all the rest of it, I feel like it ruins and interrupts the flow of the video. But thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing it for me, Eugene. That's very kind of you. So tomorrow we are off for the day, because it's our day off and we're going to laze around the house and probably not even put on clothes for the day. It's going to be great. And then Monday, we are back with more Batman. Monday's Batman, Tuesday's Pokemon, Thursday Fallout. Friday next week, we should probably do more Magic, but because I'm also doing the pre-release, I might not do Magic. I might do League a little bit, because I don't want to overload on Magic for the whole day. And then Saturday next week, I think we're doing Roblox. Yeah, we're doing Roblox because some people requested Roblox. We'll try that out next week. But yeah, thank you everyone who came and watched the videos. Thank you if you watch the videos afterwards where I'm reviewing everything and on YouTube. And hopefully I will see everybody next week. Please do a Rams. All right, we'll maybe change it up and we'll skip the Friday and we'll skip the Magic on Friday and we'll do a Rams. It might not be a full-length stream again because we do need to go out on Fridays. No, actually, no, we'll be fine. Yeah, we'll do some Rams on Friday, and then after that I'll go and play Magic all afternoon. So it's fine. I'll still get my Magic fix. But anyway. I will see everybody later. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoy your weekend. See you next week. Bye.